presentation. We introduce my colleague Adam Wade, let you know that he is our Director of Development. It is his job to help me raise money. So if he extends his hands out to you, don't be scared, he just wants to shake it. We're a little bit more subtle than that. But we have some information about the museum and about this really cool exhibit that does relate to Jasper. In fact, Jasper is a little bit of a homecoming for me because my parents used to live here for about 15 years, up in Bantry, where Judy lives, and until they moved back. You know, soon after moving here from Cuba, my dad always loved the mountains, and so even when we were living in Atlanta, packed us all in the station wagon, took us up here after 4 or 515s or 400, back when there were like two-lane windy roads, and you always get lost. And you always have to pull over, ask somebody for directions, and he would drag me along for me to translate Southern into English. And once he got directions, he always thanked them and always asked, "Now let me ask you something. You know where I can get some moonshine?" Never did, never found any, and years later, this is still the mid-60s, years later we realized what a dangerous question that was at that time. But yeah, I'm here to talk about Tellus. My talks can be very scientifically complex or very simple, so I like to always do an intelligence test before I talk. Who has been to Tellus? Okay, we can do better than that. I'll try to keep it real simple. No, but hopefully I can motivate you to come visit us. And so there's the museum, there's the campus, 120,000 square feet of science. You know, the first words I like to hear always when somebody walks in, especially kids, is wow. We have dinosaurs, reptiles, we have ice age mammals and fossils, we have planes, trains, and automobiles. We have space and hard to see, but we have, yeah, you know, can we do that? If I adjust your, that's better. Yeah. Is that better? All right, yeah, so right here we have an actual moon rock and exhibit. A little closer for that. We have a planetarium, an observatory, hands-on science, a lot of changing exhibits, a lot of special events. But the core of our collection, and what has longer history than anything else, is our mineral exhibit. We have gems, crystals, gold, and we specialize in collecting specimens from Georgia. In fact, we have the state of Georgia's mineral collection that used to be exhibited in the Capitol. And so, Georgia has quite a mineral history. First of all, we got 26 meteorites classified here in Georgia, one of which fell 5 miles from the museum, hit a house about 10 years ago, and we have it on exhibit. We have gold, of course. Georgia, the site of the nation's first big gold rush, and there's a little bit of gold left. I think most of the gold mined up in the Laniga is from tourists, but it's all business. But we have quite a collection of gold that is still being found throughout Georgia. Georgia was the first state where manganese was mined for the production of steel. Georgia was the first place where bauxite was mined for aluminum. A lot of other minerals here in Pickens County. There's been not just marble, but mica mining. You'll see the gold map over here. You'll see no gold in Pickens. Sorry. So don't waste your time. Yeah, no, you're not in your head. Don't waste your time on the creek over here. Go east, go south. Our collection of gold. But I really want to talk about this exhibit that we have, Georgia Stone. This is an exhibit on granite and on marble and how the impact that it had on the nation in buildings and roads. And so one of the first things people ask is, there's the exhibit right there, a little sneak peek, and another close-up. And people always ask, we got all this mineral wealth over here. Where did it come from? Where did the Georgia marble and Georgia granite come from? So, a little quick geology lesson here. We're going to go back in time about 500 million years when the entire state was underwater, and a lot of limestone building up, limestone that is still found in northwest Georgia in Rome. But what happened in Georgia a few hundred million years later is the same thing that is happening in the Himalayas, in the Alps, and you have continents crunching together, and this rock is really superheated and gets recrystallized, and so a lot of the limestone turned to marble. And you have over here a little artist illustration of what the ocean would have looked like. These are creatures that are extinct now, but these were fossilized in limestone and recrystallized in marble. But about a quarter billion years ago, you have the supercontinent Pangaea forming, all these like rocks being compressed together, the limestone turning into marble, but also the heat was so intense that some of the rock melted and then cooled again into granite. So the formation of marble and the formation of granite is somewhat related to this collision. And like I said, the same thing's happening deep underneath the Alps and the Himalayas. Well, a lot of rock has been removed since then. Of course, we're able to get pretty close to the rock now, but all this happened miles underground. So we have here some maps that we use. You can barely see this little thin line right over here. So as much marble as we have, it's a very narrow deposit. You know, when I used to go see my parents, get on Cove Road, once you get into the valley, you pass a quarry. It's less than a couple hundred feet wide, but it's a couple of thousand feet deep. A lot of marble on the ground. Maybe the widest areas would be around Tatum Marble Hill, but still that's not as wide a deposit as it is deep. Granite is a different story. A lot of granite spots throughout the state. The main areas that have been mined, Elberton right over here, and Stone Mountain at one time was a granite quarry. It is one of those geologic myths that the whole state of Georgia is underlain by granite. No, the granite is only where you find it. Different rocks are found in different parts of the state. So, this looks familiar. Who's been there? The Tech Quarry, all of you should have been there. Marble was discovered in the 1830s. The story goes is one Henry Fitzsimmons from Ireland got kicked off a stagecoach for rowdy behavior, being drunk. And but he recognized marble when he started the marble industry. A lot of the landowners, including Samuel Tate, got into the business later on. What really made the industry thrive was the linking Jasper to Marietta via railroad. Don't forget, this is like a lot of heavy rock, and to be pulling it on a mule train, that's not very efficient. But the railroads really made the industry, the marble industry, thrive. 1884, Georgia Marble Company formed. In 1905, Colonel Sam Tate, Samuel's son, became president of Georgia Marble and started consolidating a lot of quarries into one. And by, I believe, 1941, Georgia Marble Company was the only producer of marble in the state. Georgia Marble was very preferred. First of all, good marketing, but also it had a good variation of color, from the pure white to the pink. The white was preferred for say state capitals, because of the white marble was considered a classic. Around that time, the architects were copying the classical architecture of Greece and Rome, so it was a preferred marble. But also the beautiful colors of the edible pink. We have a lot of old pictures, and we went through a lot of archives. We got a lot of old pictures that I think are really cool. This is the way marble used to be cut. This is from the early 1900s. This is a photograph from November of last year. Hard to see, but there's essentially this wire saw that's just cutting and pulling on that marble, cutting a big slab. This is roughly about 15 feet. I should have gotten one of my staff next to it. It would have been like up to here. And we try to replicate that in our exhibit. You can see we actually constructed a small model of that saw right over here. And you can see the pulleys right over here. The wire is a diamond studded wire. And if we didn't have those pulleys keeping the wire from cutting the marble, that block would be cut in one day. So we don't want to be replacing a block of marble once a day, so we put that as a restraint. So here's a photograph of the mine at the Marble Hill, now run by Emirates, used to be part of Georgia Marble, called the New York Mine. Underground mine. Most of the marble mine in Georgia, which is really this from here north into through LJ. Most of the marble is actually crushed to powder. Most of the marble mine, about 98% crushed to powder for additives like paints and plastic. Every car that you drive has about from 200 to 400 pounds of marble worked into the plastic. So that's not really what we're talking about in this exhibit. This quarry actually what was at one time a dimension stone quarry. This is a 1907 photograph of that. When it was exposed, and they started later working it underground. And we've been there. It's quite a trip if you ever get to visit the underground facility. Now here's a close-up. It is not that easy to read. Well, you can see an E over here. It's a W, and then York is over here, and the word mine. So this is called the New York Mine. Why is that? Why would they call a mine New York Mine here in Georgia? Marble from this quarry was used to build the New York Stock Exchange. And so this is part of the story we're telling, how Georgia marble, Georgia granite really spread throughout the country and other parts of the world to build buildings and other significant structures. Well, I threw in a dinosaur, right? Because, hey, this is Tellus. So this is Sue. This is Sue, the famous dinosaur that sold at auction for $9 million. No, we didn't have that kind of money, so we didn't even bid. To the Field Museum. The Field Museum in Chicago, made out of Georgia marble. So they took our dinosaur, but they also took our marble. The Lincoln Memorial. The actual statue of Abraham Lincoln is Georgia white marble. And Georgia white is a brand of marble. I always wondered, I learned a lot. I mean, whenever we do an exhibit, and I was not the lead in this exhibit, but I did review everything. I was learning a lot, so I was envisioning what size block would it have taken these sculptors to sculpt this statue of Lincoln. I was envisioning something the size of this room. The answer is it wasn't that big. It was in parts. And so the statue of Lincoln was actually about 20 different parts that got assembled, and then the seams smoothed out to make it seem like one continuous sculpture. So I'm always looking at rocks. My wife will tell you, we'll be driving, and she's just waiting to hear it. Honey, do you mind if I stop by this road to here for a few minutes? And so I'm always looking not just at rock outcrops and minerals and fossil, but also always looking as I travel the country, really, but especially the state, looking at buildings and what rocks that are familiar to me are being used. And so this was a trip down to Americus, Georgia, Jimmy Carter country, Americas. We were actually on a different project. This was a fossil research project. And when I travel, as much as possible, I like to stay in old hotels, they want to have a lot of character. So I stayed at the Windsor, and I walked in, and what did I see? Georgia marble. 3 colors of Georgia marble, from the edible pink to the Georgia white and the Creole. And I wasn't even expecting it. So I took that picture, sent it back to my staff, and that's in the exhibit too. Depending on the year and the contract, up to 3/4 of tombstones for national cemeteries are produced in Tate at the Georgia Marble Quarry. And by the way, the Georgia Marble, was sold about 15, 20 years ago to the big multinational conglomerate that changed names 2 or 3 times. Now it's called Emirates. But they wisely divested themselves of the actual quarry, the actual dimensional quarry that is now owned by Polycor, whereas Emirates, they're out to crush rock. Polycor, they're out to produce dimension stone, building stone. And so, in a way, Georgia Marble has come back as Georgia Marble, and they're doing a great job over there. They were really helpful. They didn't give me any money to say this, but they've been very helpful to us, giving us a lot of information on the history of the company. and they're really doing a great job just producing more marble in that quarry. And so, my point is that depending on the contract from the VA, they could be producing 3/4 of all the monuments, all the headstones for all national cemeteries in this country. Granite is another rock, maybe not quite as widespread as Georgia marble, but Stone Mountain. Who's been to Stone Mountain? Yeah, yeah. I see more hands than I'll tell us. Okay, let's come on. 45 minutes to tell us an hour and how long to Stone Mountain. Give me a break. But Stone Mountain was originally a quarry. It was originally a mine. Owned once the railroad connected the town of Stone Mountain to Atlanta, it really thrived. I went to school at Georgia State, and at that time, a lot of the curbing on the street was Stone Mountain granite. And then quarry began in Elberton, Georgia, later on. Stone Mountain has a lot of history. It eventually became a state park in 1950. Unfortunately, the owners, the Venable brothers that ran the quarry, were also part of the Ku Klux Klan, so they had Klan rallies on top of the mountain, but that's all part of history. And so, let's get with Elberton. If you in a cemetery anywhere in Southeast and you see this consistent gray monument in a cemetery, that is Elberton granite. It's about 60 quarries, 25 quarries, 60 plants that are producing these monuments, a lot of them custom made. So they're throughout, very famous. One monument that actually caused a little bit of trouble though is this one, Dutch. So in 1898, the city of Elberton commissioned a memorial for the Confederate soldier. And unfortunately, they brought in a guy from Pennsylvania to sculpt it. And that's what it ended up like. It ended up looking, described as a Dutchman crossed with a hippopotamus. It was so unappreciated that 2 years later, I don't know if there was alcohol involved or not, but the locals knocked down the statue, and they got so fed up with it, they actually dug a hole and rolled it over, and it stayed buried in downtown Elberton and square until 1982, where by that time, Elberton granite had gotten such fame, and they had a museum, that they actually dug it up and took it to a car wash, posted off with a spray gun, and put it in the museum. It is laying down, not because of any symbolic gestures, it's laying down because the pedestal got broken. So it's now more like a historic artifact than any memorial. So Stone Mountain, this is not even the biggest granite outcrop in the U.S., but still a big rock, a big exposed rock, very popular state park. Like I said, mined for granite for many, many years. Here's a photograph about when they were starting to carve the monument, but it was then called the Stone Mountain Granite Corporation. And a photograph of some of the early mining that if you really walk around the mountain, you get inside the tracks. I believe you can still do that. I don't know if it's fenced up. You'll see evidence of quarrying. And a lot of the lakes there are actually former pits, former quarries that are filled with water. So my wife and I lived in Midtown for more than 20 years, and Rhodes Hall, one of the classic buildings that are still preserved, just literally about 2 or 3 blocks from where I live, and I never knew it was made of Stone Mountain granite. Yeah. So when I went down there during the process of getting this exhibit ready, I had a doctor's appointment in Atlanta, and I made a point to go back there and take that picture. So you learn some things. You learn things putting an exhibit together. Guess what else I learned? El Capitolio, the capital of Cuba, Havana, Cuba, made out of Stone Mountain granite. Yeah. So I called my dad. My dad's still alive. He's 93 and great. My dad's, hey, Poppy, hey, I just learned this. He goes, yeah. So soon doing this. He never told me. And so I'm trying to envision hauling down all that rock down there by railroad and ships, but for some reason the government at that time preferred that rock. So, of course, one of the advantages of knowing miners and mines and quarries is that we get to collect minerals also. So these quarries have produced some interesting looking pieces. Even Stone Mountain, although it's mostly granite, there are some thin cracks that are filled with what's called hyalite opal, that if you put some UV light on it, it fluoresces. And that's actually in our fluorescent exhibit at the museum. But it's the marble mines that are really giving us a lot of really neat specimens. This is Alan Queen is a retired driller for what was then Georgia Marble at the New York Quarry. And in the process of drilling, he's drilling holes to put the blasting material in there. He will pop open some open vugs with crystals in it. And the quarry, the company allowed him to stop and collect. And so we ended up with a lot of very nice pieces. There's some calcite from the New York mine. It's about so big, about maybe 20 inches. This is a beautiful doctored calcite from a cave that he uncovered. And this is a big piece. This is a big piece that's probably about 4 feet wide that we got from there also. So, and yes, on my way to visit my parents, back before they closed it off to the public, I would stop by the Cove Road Quarry also. This is what it looked like in 1907. I think it was called the Perseverance Quarry at that time. So this is what it looks like now, and it's fenced off. But I started going in there when they were shutting down the mine, and so there was a lot of blocks of marble with calcite crystals, and calcite is really the same material as marble, calcium carbonate. And so I was able to wipe off a few pieces. So yes, every time I visit my parents, I allow an extra half hour. And yes, I did tell my wife, honey, do you mind if I pull over here for another? Yeah, sure. So this is one of the pieces that I collected. Only about so big, it's not lost in the museum, but really neat stuff. All right, so so what do? We like to exhibit. We like to have a lot of programs. We like to do a lot of things for the public because we think science education is important. We get a lot of kids. We get about between 40 and 45,000 kids experiencing our programs. We like to educate them, but also like for them to have fun. But also for the adults, so we have to present a real, authentic science. So you will not find exhibits on Bigfoot or UFOs or any of this. If you wear minerals around your neck, wear them because they're beautiful, not because they're going to heal you. If you're sick, go see a doctor. So we like to present factual science, and we are a non-profit, so we thrive on donations from the public. Hence why I brought Adam Wade over here. And don't forget that we are just about 45 minutes from here. So we'd love to get more people from Pickens County, from Jasper, to come see us, become members, bring your kids, bring your grandkids, bring friends. It's a really neat place. So make a day of it. And in fact, maybe make it a weekend, because besides us, we have the booth Western Art Museum, the biggest Western Art museum east of the Mississippi or the country now. I've lost track. One of those. And coming soon, we're going to have the Savoy Automobile Museum. So maybe spend a week, I don't know. I've lots of stuff to see. Anyway, thank you so much for having me. Any questions? Very good. Thanks again.